Let's get a read on something else that's catching a lot of people's attention, this Green New Deal, that according to a guy who used to run the Congressional Budget Office, Douglas Eakin, he put pen to paper, started crunching things with spreadsheets and all of that, and said it could be $93 trillion when all is said and done. Now, we're going to be speaking with Dr. Eakin later on today, of course, a key advisor to John McCain in his presidential quest. You remember that. But he's going to be on Your World at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to get a reaction to this because this is the first time someone has actually tried to put hard data to this loose data that's out there. So it might be a risky leap. Let's go to Democratic strategist Robin Biro. We've got former Bush 43 presidential writer Ned Ryun. Robin, do you buy that this could be, when all is said and done, that much money, close to $100 trillion?
I'm not at all surprised. The range he gave was actually $51 trillion to $93 trillion. Right. I believe that, and I'm counting my blessings now that as a sort of a moderate Democrat, I was skeptical of this. It sounds great in theory. Look, FDR's New Deal sounded great. It created tons of jobs. This one proposed to do the same, but it sounded so expensive, and I just knew that it was going to be in the trillions. Now we know it's going to be possibly up to $93 trillion. So strategically speaking, the people who come out on the top on this are moderate Democrat presidential candidates like Klobuchar, who said, you know, this is aspirational, but I don't know how we're going to get there.
You know, there must be something to what Robin says, Ned, because even Dianne Feinstein was taking on kids who came to her office. That video quickly went viral when they were pushing her to buy this, you know, Green New Deal, and she liked a lot of features of it, but that there was a way to put cost to paper, and that wasn't the way to do it. So she has been criticized by many in the party for not joining this fight. What do you make of it?
Well, I would agree with Robin that those that are more in the middle and those that have not committed to this are probably going to come out looking pretty smart. I mean, to put a fine point on it, Neil, when you break out that cost of $93 trillion, that's about $600,000 per American household. It's a staggering figure. But I want to go back to the entire premise that this is all based on. It's based on a quasi-religious belief in man-made global warming. And let's say, for argument's sake, that you believe in man-made global warming. I don't, but let's say you do. The United Nations' own IPCC report states that if the United States were to cut every last bit of CO2 emissions today, it would only reduce global temperatures by 0.17 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. And oh, by the way, annihilate the American economy and prosperity. I wrote about this at American Greatness today, Neil, that if the Green New Deal were ever implemented in a real way, it would incinerate the United States economy, while our enemies, like China, would be laughing their heads off. But I will say this, the other thing that people need to understand about those proposing the Green New Deal, it's all based off this idea of coercion. It is coercive socialism, and I made the point in this op-ed today, there's another name for coercive socialism, it's communism.
You know, when you look at the $93 trillion figure, and then you look at, and I'm looking at just the debt levels we have now, Robin, over $22 trillion, to say nothing of state and local debt, which, if you just want to average it out, is anywhere from 75 to 100 trillion. I know these numbers get mind-boggling. Someone should be thinking of a plan to just get a handle on spending, period, green or otherwise, and no one is.
No one. You know, they like to make mentions of it in their town halls, but I'm not seeing any concrete action. Democrats have got to start delivering on that. And I would be remiss. I respect Ned, but that very same report did state that if we don't do anything, the cost to America would be $500 billion per year by 2100. So I would argue that something has to be done, but this is much too ambitious. I would call it an aspirational at best plan. I'm glad that Senator Feinstein is working on something more reasonable.
All right, we'll see. I mean, you know, as you know, Congresswoman Cortez has been very, very critical, Ned, of the half-heartedness that Dianne Feinstein was saying, that we have to get bold. She's had 30 years to do something on this, and she hasn't. What did you make of that?
I would make of it that AOC is going to find herself extremely unwelcome inside the Democratic Party if she's not too careful. I wouldn't be surprised, Neil, if there are already plans among some in the establishment that she'll get a primary challenge in 2020, because I think she's starting to make herself a little problematic for the Democratic leadership. But I'd also remind people, by pushing these far left ideas, she's putting in trouble the Democratic majority in 2020. A lot of the reasons that the Democrats are in the majority is because of the more moderate and centrists who won in these swing districts. If they get colored by these crazy ideas, I think they're in real trouble in keeping the majority in 2020. Can I say one last thing? And when you talk about cutting government, I think one of the most staggering things that we didn't talk about in this recent government shutdown, we have 800,000 non-essential federal government employees. We have 7 million job openings in the private sector. Why are we not talking about an initiative to transfer those 800,000 non-essentials into the 7 million jobs in the private sector? That would reduce costs significantly in the federal government year to year.
All right, that's another topic for another show. Real quickly, Robin, on that, the Cortez criticism, where many in the party are saying we got to challenge her because she's dragging the party down. Do you agree with that?
I think it's very telling, Neil, that she didn't have a comment to this news today. So, you know, I'm grateful for her for being a fighter, but, you know, sometimes just the loudest mouths aren't necessarily, they don't have the best ideas. And, you know, that's just the truth.
No, she could never be a television anchor, let's say. That future's done. All right, guys, I want to thank you both very, very much. Again, we've not heard from the Congresswoman. She might very well respond. She usually doesn't waste a nanosecond here responding, certainly in social media. So if she does, we'll let you know.